Hello everybody, welcome on in. I am Orion. Today we are doing something a little bit different because of much high demand. 1.0 release came out. I have been asked non-stop about doing a tier list, so I thought I would finally jump in and do one for the weapons. I think I did do one, or I might have done one for the subclasses a while ago, but that probably has changed quite a bit over the last year since I last did it. But we're gonna jump in and do a weapon one. I'm not much of an editor here. I don't edit my videos too much, but you know, we're just gonna use tier maker. I'm gonna go through some of the weapons. I'll kind of explain a little bit on my reasoning on where I'm gonna put them, and then we'll go from there. So we'll just start off. We'll move down the list right here. So first weapon, we have the neurotoxin grenade. I love this weapon. I think it's definitely one of the best explosive status effect type weapons in the game. I use it whenever I use the interrogator. I use this one quite often, so this one jumps right up into the A tier. Next up, we're gonna have the Thunderhead. The Thunderhead is going to be a gunner weapon, and this weapon was probably on release by far the strongest weapon in the game. It was S tier. It was a class of its above. It's since then it's gotten nerfed a little bit, like its overclocks have gotten nerfed, so now it has less range and things like that. But with that said, I mean, this is still one of the best weapons in the game. I wouldn't say it's the best weapon, but it's definitely one of the best. So this one definitely goes at S tier. Boomstick is okay. I think it can be good. You can get the mini pellet upgrade. It works well when you do like a triple shotgun build. But if we're thinking about just normal shotguns, I think the Warthog is superior to this weapon. The Warthog does have a minor defect of only being able to shoot forward, but I think the Warthog in terms of shotguns is probably a lot better than this one. So we're gonna stick the boomstick right here at C. Next up, we have the breach cutter. The breach cutter is another kind of fun weapon. It has it's a plasma weapon. I think it works well with plasma builds, and I think that's kind of where it stops. It doesn't have good fire rate. You can get extra sort of projectiles on it to make the lines and the balls a little bit longer. But in terms of plasma weapons, you know, I don't really think it's that great. I think there's other better plasma weapons. This one is gonna go C tier also. Okay, next up we have the fire burster. This is a fun weapon, but I feel like we'll do these ones together because these ones I think I'm gonna kind of put in the same exact tier. There's this one, and then there's the Nux 17. These weapons are nearly identical in their overclocks and how they work. They both fire, you know, sort of at a diagonal, like they shoot in 4 different directions. They get the same overclocks, or the same unstable overclocks, where when you get them to 18, they can shoot in a spiral, or they can shoot in 8 different rounds. I think this weapon is, again, this weapon's okay, but it severely lacks damage. The fire burster can get fire, and then the Nux 17 can get cold. Cold, I think with this Nux 17 is a little bit better than the fire burster, so I'm gonna try my best to sort of rank them too based on the tiers I'm putting them in. I would put the Nux 17 just above the fire burster because I think the spiral cold has a little bit more utility than the spiral fire, because it just lacks damage severely. I've done a couple builds where we've done spiral builds, and while they're fun and flashy, these weapons, they don't hold up. They don't hold up with damage. All right, next up we have the Bulldog. The Bulldog is a starting weapon for the gunner, and this weapon is really, I think, only good if you're doing a tank build. Other than that, it's pretty garbage. It does have a nice overclock. Again, if you're doing a tank build, it's good for that build. I don't think it's good for anything else in this game. And I would probably, as I'm moving through, like if I'm playing a class and I see the Bulldog show up, I'm literally never picking the Bulldog unless I'm doing a specific tank build, because it does get that unstable overclock where when you're reloading you get something like 100% extra armor, and that's literally the only time I'm picking this weapon. I will never pick this weapon for a projectile build, a kinetic build, any sort of build I'm doing other than tank. This weapon is never gonna get touched. It's just not, it's not good. Okay, next up we have the Coil gun. The Coil gun is a really, really good weapon. This is, if you can get extra beams with the Coil gun and you can get it doing mining, this is probably the best mining weapon in the game. If you get like 4 beams, 5 beams, you get pretty good range. You're gonna mine everything in the game. It's crazy good. It's probably better than the grenades. It's probably better than the LMG turret. I think this is the best mining weapon in the game. And on top of that, it does pretty good damage. We're gonna put this at S tier. I'm gonna put it a little bit below the Thunderhead though. I think the Thunderhead is just better for damage. If you're gonna try to kill bosses and focus on killing bosses, I think the Thunderhead just does that a little bit better. This might be a little bit better at mob clearing, and this really gets its S tier ranking because of how good of a mining weapon it is. It is insanely powerful. Okay, next up we have the flamethrower. The flamethrower is pretty good. We're gonna put that right in B tier. In terms of like status effect builds though, I think the acid stuff is just gonna be better. They kind of do pretty similar things. Acid and fire, you know, they're gonna put on a damage and then they're gonna put on a damage tick. I just think the acid weapons are superior. It's a good weapon, but it's not as good as, like, it's not gonna be as good as, spoiler, the sludge pump when we get to it. Okay, next up we have the cryo cannon. Cryo cannon is arguably the worst weapon in the game. I think the cryo weapons in this game need a substantial, and I mean substantial, buff. Because right now, there's too many weapons in this game that allow you to put a cold modifier on your weapon, like an overclock. And those are way better. They're even better at freezing the enemies than a weapon made for freezing. For example, the plasma carbine, you can get cold on this. You will freeze everything and do superior damage. The wave cooker, you can get cold on that. You will freeze everything and do superior damage. The cryo cannon needs substantial buffs. It's definitely gonna be one of the worst weapons in the game. If it wasn't for the cryo drone, exact same thing. Cryo drone is absolute garbage. No damage, sucks at freezing. The drones in this game, I think, are mediocre. The fire and acid ones are better, but the cryo drone is definitely the worst weapon. It's these two. These two are the bottom tier of the game. I wouldn't do if I were doing a cold build. Like, the funny part is if I'm doing a cold build, I'm not picking these weapons. I'm gonna do a carbine or I'm gonna do a wave cooker, and I'm gonna put cold on those weapons, and they're gonna get way better damage, and they'll probably do a better job at freezing. So yeah, these ones aren't good. Cryo grenade. The cryo grenade is definitely, probably, if we're looking at pure cryo weapons, this one's probably the best. This one's gonna go into B tier. It's definitely the best at freezing, but it has really good mining too. This is one of the few grenades where you can actually get the TNT attachment on it, or the TNT overclock, and it turns it into a really good mining grenade. And it's definitely, if you're looking at cryo weapons, it's definitely the best at freezing. You get some explosion radius, you get the 3 smaller grenades. It's not going to do a lot of damage. None of these cryo weapons are going to do a lot of damage, but this is the superior freezing weapon. Okay, then we have the deep core grenade launcher. This weapon's really bad. It doesn't really do anything well. It's supposed to be a good explosive weapon, but it really, it's one of those weapons again where it just lacks damage. A lot of the explosive weapons sort of fizzle out. This one has a kind of okay overclocks where you can shoot like, at some points you can shoot 6 different grenades, which is okay, but it's really, the lack of damage is really what puts me off of this weapon. And again, you're forced to run it if you're going to do an explosive build, because the engineer starts off with it with the demolitionist, and the demolitionist is kind of fun because you get that extra like explosion radius and damage, and you're forced to play this weapon, but it's not going to carry you anywhere. It's going to be a bad weapon. Okay, plasma carbine. If you know my channel, you know the plasma carbine is my favorite weapon in the game. This has 2 really good overclocks. It has like the Stormy mag, where you can go with like a high fire rate build, and then you can do the Stormy mag where you're gonna shoot plasma. Your last bullet's gonna shoot plasma all around the map, and that's really good at clearing mobs. Or you can get the sawn off, and you can kind of turn it into a quote-unquote shotgun. That's my favorite build in the game, is a triple shotgun build, and it uses the sawn-off plasma carbine. But this weapon is just so versatile. It can do everything. You can put, and again, when we're going towards like freezing stuff, you can get an overclock where it gets like 15% damage and then it does cold. Or you can get 15% damage and it does fire. So if you're trying to mix it into a status effect build, you can do that. If you're putting it into a plasma build, you can do that. And this weapon, if you put cold on it, it's a far superior cold weapon compared to these two, on top of doing way better damage. This is an S tier weapon, and I'm currently going to put it as the #1 for right now. I do think it is better than the Thunderhead due to its versatility, because if you pick sawn off, you can blast enemies too. You can really drain enemies. You can burst them down. You're going to be shooting out a ton of plasma rifles in plasma bullets in one direction. And so if you're hitting the bosses or elites, you're going to do really good damage to them. Its only downfall is it doesn't really have piercing. With pierce with this weapon, it just kind of gives it additional bounces. But because of all the freezing, all the damage you're going to do, you should be able to mow through the enemies anyways. That's its really only weakness, but I don't really think it's that bad. Okay, electric drone. Electric drone, again, the drones are not good in this game. This is definitely a D tier one. I don't know where, we'll probably put this right here. Because again, if I'm playing this game and I'm doing an electric build, I'm probably never going to pick the drone. I will pick other weapons like a deep core, a Warthog, and I will get electric. I will turn these into electric weapons. And now all of a sudden they're better electric. These, again, I think some of these weapons that solely focus on just cold, just electric, just aren't good. I don't really think the drone overclocks have gotten buffed over time. And they're definitely getting a little bit better, but I definitely think they need more. And especially these ones that really only focus on one thing. So this is like an electric drone. You're picking this to put electric status and damage on enemies, and it just doesn't do a good job. You're just gonna pick other weapons and just modify them to be electric. So this one sits at D tier. Okay, this one's a fun one. The experimental plasma charger. This one is pretty cool, but I think this one takes a while to get going. At level 18, it has an overclock to where you can, at like the end of the projectile's lifetime, it can split into extra projectiles. And that's where this weapon becomes really good. Other than that, I think it is pretty weak until then. So if you take this weapon, I think you need to power rush it to 18 as quick as you can, because that's where you're going to get its true power. And when you get there, it's really, really, really good. This one's going to go upper B tier. I kind of maybe think it could maybe make A. I'll kind of maybe rethink about it. Maybe. Does it go A? Yeah, okay, it goes A. Let's put it A. I think because of that overclock, it's really good. It's gonna do a lot of damage. You can get fire on it. You can get slow on it. And once you start getting like good fire rate and things like that, you're gonna have plasma balls flying all over the map, and it's really cool. It's really cool how it works. Okay, next up is our fire drone. The fire drone is good, and I'm gonna put these. I'm gonna rank these two together. We're gonna do the fire drone and the acid drone because again, they're pretty similar. I do think acid is a little bit better, but these drones are better. For one, these drones are better than these drones because these drones are aggressive. What that means is they will go out and attack enemies. These two drones are automatically defensive, so they just circle around you. Circling around you is garbage. That's another reason why these are so low. I should have talked about that when we talked about them. You can get an aggro overclock for these two, but that's a waste of an overclock. I feel like they should just be aggro anyways. So with these having aggro, it makes them so much better. They actually do decent damage, and they're good status effect weapons. They will work well with status effects. So we're gonna put these up here. I'm gonna do the fire and then where'd the acid? I'm gonna do the acid right above it because again, I think the acid is a better status effect than fire. But these two they're relatively similar. They kind of feel the same thing. So if you're trying to do a construct drone build, these would be the main two you would focus on. I would focus 100% on these two, getting these as powerful as you can. And then I guess you would pick between these ones depending on what you want for your third and last drone. If you want it to freeze or if you just want it to do some extra crit, but extra crit doesn't really work well with status effects, so it would be up to you. Okay, now we have the most basic gun in the game, just the good old deep core. This weapon is literally mediocre. I'm gonna put it below the drones though. This one's gonna go B tier. This one's okay, but like I said, it's basic. You can get electric on it. It can get some like somewhat powerful unstable overclocks. You know, you can make it the favorite, or you can get the lead wrap bullets to make it do extra damage. But again, it's just so basic. It doesn't really shine that well compared to like some of the other weapons. So yeah, just boring weapon. B for boring, but it's not weak. It's not weak. It's fine. Okay, then we have the high explosive grenade. This is the weirdest weapon in the game, and this one's kind of hard to rank. It's called high explosive grenade. You expect it to be a very powerful weapon. It's not. This weapon sucks. Damage wise, it's really bad. You can't use it to carry you. The only reason I ever take this weapon is again because of TNT, where it can destroy terrain and it can mine for you. It's a really good grenade to put in that explosive build. Pair that along with the cryo grenade and you will be mining the entire map. It's really crazy, it's really fun, and it's a really good build. But again, kind of like with some of our other weapons, that's it. It's only good in that build. If you're doing an explosive build, I wouldn't pick this weapon. If you're doing a kinetic build, I wouldn't pick this weapon. I'm only ever picking this weapon if I'm doing a mining build. So this one, because of its mining, I'll put it at the bottom of C tier for now. I do think because of its mining, it has uses. I would pick this weapon for a mining build. These weapons down here, I would probably never pick. I would never pick these unless I like had to. But if I'm doing a mining build, I am gonna pick this weapon. This weapon is 100% gonna be picked if we're doing explosive mining. All right, now we have the Hurricane. This weapon has really surprised me recently. It's a top tier damage weapon in the game. And again, I didn't really use this weapon a lot in the early days. I use it almost every time now if I'm doing like a heavy gunner build or a heavy weapon build. It's really cool, it's really flashy. It has some pretty cool overclocks where you can get a lot of rockets firing out. You can set the ground on fire. You can get bigger explosions, and it just does a ton of damage. It's definitely the one that has probably jumped up the most. Like if I were to have done a ranking list a year and a half ago to now, and I'm gonna put this at the top of A tier. This one could maybe make S tier, but it's definitely A tier. I think the Thunderhead is a little bit better just because of Thunderhead's versatility, and if you want it to drain bosses or elites, I think the Thunderhead is a little bit more superior, and I think that's kind of what matters most. Like, this can shred through mobs, but when I'm running a heavy gunner, these two are my main weapons. So I'm always gonna pick these two. Okay, next up we have the axe. The axe is kind of cool. It had incredibly weak overclocks, and then they finally put in some good ones for it, where now it can do fan of axe and it can shoot smaller axes out. You can get fire trails, you can get acid trails. It's not bad. I don't know if I would really put it like higher than C tier though, so I think we'll put this maybe in upper C. It does okay damage, but again, because of its versatility between being able to be fire, between kinetic or acid, I think it's pretty cool. I think it's a fun weapon. Next we have the incendiary grenade. This is again a really, really good status effect weapon if you're going to use it. It's really good for explosive builds. If you're doing an explosive build with the demolitionist, this one can fit in really well, because if you're getting explosion size, it's really fun because you're basically going to set the whole map on fire. It pairs really, really well with the incendiary, the neurotoxin grenade. The thing that holds these back, kind of both of these, is the unstable overclocks. I think they're really bad. This one has the one where it can make them run away in fear, and it has another one where if you get hit, you drop grenades. This one is just as bad too. I think it has pretty similar ones. So those maybe hold this one a little bit back, but I'm gonna put this at upper B for now. It's really good. It's just a good weapon. It's fun to use. You can set the whole map on fire. It's pretty cool. Okay, fire turret. This might be one of the more controversial decisions here, because I don't know if a lot of people are gonna agree with me on this one. I don't think the fire turret is good. I think it's a very bad weapon. With that said though, I do think it is like an A or S tier weapon if you can get a lot of beam upgrades. If you can get 5 beam upgrades, which I did before, this becomes one of the coolest, most powerful weapons in the game. But that relies on you getting 3 to 4 legendary upgrades. I can't put it any higher than C tier because of that. Because if you don't get those overclocks, I don't think it's a good weapon. I think if you have 1 or 2 beams, it's not good. It does have a mining attachment to it. I don't think it's a very good mining turret. And yeah, unless you're getting those 5 beams, I'm not a fan. It works well with turret builds and fire builds, but I don't know. I don't think it holds up to some of the other weapons in terms of damage. All right, next up we have the lead burster. This is definitely the best or second best throwable in the game. If you can get piercing, if you can get 3 smaller grenades, you'll be shredding enemies so good with this weapon. Get good reload. This weapon will you throw it in the middle of a mob, it's just gonna shred them. If you happen to land one in the middle of a boss, it's gonna shred a boss. It's really good. It's really powerful. It has a lot of versatility. We're gonna put this one at, I'm gonna put it right below the Hurricane. I think the Hurricane's a little better, but this is definitely an A tier weapon. Okay, now we have the Minigun. Minigun sucks. Minigun is, again, one of those one of those weapons I would probably never pick. Its biggest weakness is that it is a forward firing weapon. And because of that, I feel that weapons like this should have way more damage than they actually have. This weapon's damage output is severely lacking. It needs a ton of pierce to be good. And so I'm gonna put that at the top of D tier. It just doesn't hit that hard. And again, since it's only forward firing, it needs to be stronger. LMG turret, probably the best turret in the game. This weapon I think has the most overclocks in the game. It has probably around 6 or 7. Most of these weapons only have 4 or 5. This one has 6 or 7. This one has the most. You can make it electric, you can make it plasma, you can give it mining, you can make it follow you around, you can give it reload and all that kind of good stuff. It has a lot of versatility. I really only like this though if I can get plasma. I think if you can turn this plasma, it's incredibly good. But overall, it's still a really, really, really good weapon. It's a really good mining weapon too. We'll put this right here. We'll put it like in an upper B tier. Mining wise, it's good for mining, especially if you get plasma mining, incredibly good. But it's also really hard because, like I said, this weapon has the most overclocks in the game. So if you're trying to do a mining build with this turret, you're probably going to have to restart a few times. I know I have. But other than that, it's good. It's a really, really solid weapon. Okay, next we have the smart rifle. This is another weapon that was incredibly weak back in the day. I remember I specifically did a thumbnail where I had this weapon going into the trash. For whatever reason, that thumbnail sticks out to me, and that was a long time ago. But this weapon has gotten some substantial buffs since then. It has incredibly good fire rate, incredibly good damage. If it's locking on the bosses, it's gonna shred them. So we're gonna put that at the bottom of A tier. I've been really impressed with this weapon recently, really impressed with its buffs. So there it goes. M1000. This is the starting weapon for the sharpshooter and arguably one of the best builds in the game. If you're gonna do sort of a crit build, you can literally one-shot tier 5 bosses with this weapon if you get enough crit. It has a really cool, this is part of the build too, so this is kind of part of the subclass. But this is one of the only weapons that can do that. If you're overkilling enemies with this weapon and that sharpshooter subclass, you can explode all the enemies. So it's just an incredibly powerful weapon. And even if you're not running it with the sharpshooter, you still get a ton of damage with this. It has 2 really, really good unstable overclocks where you can turn it into a sawn-off. Again, turning it into a sawn-off is one of my favorite builds in the game, where I would pair it with the carbine, and it kind of turns it into a short-range shotgun, which is cool. I love the versatility of this weapon. And then you can also get the overclock where you turn it into a thick boy, and that's where you get the build to where you're one-shotting bosses if you have enough crit and crit damage. This weapon is just incredibly good. It does maybe feel a little weak until you get it one of those level 18 overclocks, because if you're doing the thick boy, you really have to build up reload speed, or else your reload speed is going to be garbage when you get it to 18. And then if you're doing, I guess you have a little bit more leeway if you're doing the sawn off. But yeah, it feels maybe a little weak until then. But with all that said, I think this is the GOAT weapon in the game. I think the M1000 Classic is the top tier, cream of the crop. It's the only weapon in the game that can one-shot a boss. It can mow through enemies with the right build, especially with the sharpshooter class. And the sawn off, it can fit into so many builds. It can fit into sniper builds, it can fit into kinetic builds, it can fit into close range shotgun builds. It's really good, and it's by far the most biggest damage weapon in the game. You can hit for millions of damage if you build it right. No other weapon is going to be doing that. So number one weapon, number one. It's the best weapon in the game. Next up, we have the Bolt Shark. Bolt Shark is, again, one of those weapons that has come along and surprised me at how good it is. It starts off with, I'm trying to remember what it starts off with. I think it starts off with acid and electric, and then you can get overclocks to add fire and cryo. If you get all four of those, this becomes one of the best status effect weapons in the game. It has a couple really good unstable overclocks too, where at level 18 you can turn it into a stormy mag, where your last bullet you'll just kind of shoot everything all around you. You can get another one where it shoots all its bullets at once, so you'll basically shoot all your status effects out at once, which is pretty cool. And it has the payload one, where if it hits an enemy it does sort of like a shock attack. That one's not as good, but the other two are really good. So this weapon definitely goes A tier. I will put this right above the smart rifle. Really good weapon, really strong. I like it. Okay, this one is the plasma grenade. This one doesn't really stand out too much to me. This is, again, one of those weapons where I only use it if I'm doing a plasma build. It's not that great of an explosive weapon. You can have it bounce a couple times. You can even get like cold and I think maybe shock on it, but those aren't really that good. It's just not that good of a weapon. I'm gonna put this at D tier. I just don't know exactly where. I guess we'll put it at the top of D tier. Okay, next we have the seismic repulsor. This is another turret build or a turret item, construct item, where it stays on the map and it just does like seismic shocks into the ground. This used to be one of the highest damaging items in the game. It kind of fell off a little bit since we've discovered other ones. This one does have its place in the game, but I feel it's fallen off, but it fits really, really good with turret builds. It still does pretty good damage. You can make it so it slows enemies, so it's not really bad. I think it's just a straight up mid-tier weapon. Okay, next on the list we have the shard defractor, another plasma weapon. I don't really tend to use this weapon a lot. This is another one of those weapons where it feels pretty similar to the fire turret. This weapon could be really good if you get a lot of extra beams on it. If you don't, it's absolutely horrible. This is one of those weapons where if you pick it, you don't want to ignore it, because then you're just wasting a weapon slot. If you pick it, I would make sure that you're focusing on it. You want to get it, you want to make sure you're getting all the overclocks, you want to try to get all the extra beams, you want to get high luck so you can get all those extra legendary beams. But again, it feels kind of like it's in the same tier as this one, so I'm gonna put this one just right above it. It can do really good damage, but it can also do garbage damage. It's just, this weapon's way too much of an investment and relies too much on luck to make it work well. So yeah, that goes right there, kind of in the middle of C. Next up we have the shredder grenade. This is one of those ones that, again, got pretty substantially buffed. This one is now considered a turret, this one's considered a drone now, where it didn't have the drone tag before. So that definitely buffs it up a little bit, because if you are going to do a drone build, this is definitely a good weapon to pick. It's probably going to be your highest damage dealing drone you can get. If you can get like good reload, you're going to be throwing them out all over the map. And I'm sure if you've seen some of my videos and some of our thumbnails, you'll just have shredder grenades all over the map. So this one's pretty good. I'm going to put this one probably at the top of B tier. I don't think it's quite good enough to make A tier, but it's definitely the best drone. And I think it's also classified as sort of like in the grenade explosive too. So you might be able to pair it with a couple other things. Sludge pump. This is definitely the best status effect weapon in the game. It's incredibly good at spewing acid, doing damage. It leaves acid on the ground, so enemies are just going to be walking over it the whole time. It does a ton of damage. It has really good overclocks now. They put some pretty good overclocks on this game, so now you can make it fire and electric. I usually generally just go for as many beams as I can. And this one does have enough beam overclocks to where you're pretty much guaranteed to get at least 3 beams, maybe 4. And I would usually just always pick those. And then on top of that, you can get lucky and get the extra legendary beams. But unlike these ones, you can get a little bit more because of the overclocks that you're going to be getting. And the damage output for this weapon is insane. It's incredibly good. I'm going to put this at S tier. I'm going to put it right in the middle. I would pick this one over the Thunderhead. The only problem is this one, with these types of builds, you do want to build status effect, potency, those kind of things. But I wouldn't really, if you're running like a kinetic build, there's no reason to pick this one. But this is above and beyond, by far, the best status effect weapon in the game. So if you're going to do a status effect build, if you're going to do an acid build, and you pick this weapon, you're gonna win. Easy peasy. Okay, next we have what? Oh gosh, I can't even remember the name of this one. This is the Stubby. This one, this weapon sucks. I'll just start off with that. This is a bad weapon. Again, a lot of these electric weapons just feel really underwhelming, kind of like the drones. This one has a somewhat fun overclock though, unstable overclock, where at 18 you can have it shoot any of your friendly units. So any sort of turret you have out, it'll shoot at that and it'll sort of do an electric pulse. So it's kind of fun to do that. But if you're just picking this weapon, it's really bad. It's not going to do really good damage. And again, if you're going to build electric, you're just better off picking a weapon and putting electric on it. Next, we have the Sabata. The Sabata is another interesting weapon where, like the minigun, it only shoots in one direction. This weapon only shoots backwards. You can get an overclock, an unstable overclock, where it'll shoot another bullet forward, but I think that's not the way to play this weapon. If you're gonna play this weapon, you take acid, and then you take the one where you shoot 2 parallel bullets behind you. So now you're basically doubling your damage output on top of doing acid. If you take those, I think this weapon is pretty good. It's a really strong weapon. It's really good for kind of killing elites and bosses, because most of the time they're gonna be following you around. So damage wise, it does do pretty well. I'm gonna put this one probably right below the incendiary grenade. I think this one, I guess if you do acid and the dual bullets, you could, for that one particular build, you could say it's maybe an A tier weapon, but that's the only way to build this weapon. I don't think there's really any other way to build it. Everything else is pretty weak. So I think we'll just keep it at B. B seems fine. Okay, now we have, oh man, we have death's row of electric weapons here. Okay, we have the Bug Zapper. Bug Zapper is similar to the Stubby. You're going to be shooting beams out, doing electric damage. This one has an overclock called Unlimited Power, which is kind of fun. Well, it's I don't know if it's called, I think it might be called Unlimited Power, but you know, it has the whole Star Wars where they shoot electric out of their hands, and that's kind of what the meme for this weapon is. But again, electric weapons aren't good. I'm gonna probably put this one's definitely better than the Stubby. I don't think it's good enough to classify as C tier though, so we'll keep it right here. Okay, now we have the shock fences. Again, the electric stuff isn't good, but when I play, I'm gonna put these 2 weapons in the same tier, because again, these 2 weapons kind of fill the same purpose for me. Both of these weapons allow you to pick up XP. That's like the only reason I use these two weapons. They both have overclocks that allow you to pick up XP. So with the stun sweeper, you throw it out, it picks up XP, and it brings it back to you. You can get upgrades too where you're shooting out multiple and it's rotating around you and it's picking up a lot of XP. It's pretty useful. I will admit, picking up all the XP is pretty useful, but in terms of damage, no. But these are gonna go C tier because I would rather have these. I would rather have these two than these two. And because of their ability to pick up XP, I'm gonna take these weapons. I will take these weapons. If I have two weapons that I'm using to carry me through the game, for example, say I'm doing a build where I'm running these two and these are my two main weapons, I will 100% take one of these sometimes. They'll give you the extra crit because they're electric, so they'll put that extra modifier on there. And then they're also going to help me pick up XP. So they're decent support weapons. So I will definitely pick these two. I don't think I would really ever pick these two. Now we have the Warthog. The Warthog, again, if we're kind of comparing it to the Bulldog, this weapon only shoots forward, but this weapon has way better overclocks and it does way better damage. This one you can turn it into a shock weapon or you can turn it into a plasma weapon. Either are really good. I generally like to build this as a plasma shotgun, but if you build it as an electric one, you can really shred through bosses. But if we put it on plasma, you'll just shoot out a ton of bullets in front of you, and it doesn't matter that it's a forward-facing weapon anymore. It totally negates that entire weakness. There is another overclock where you can shoot stuff behind you, but again, with the Sabata, I think that sort of defeats the purpose of the weapon. I think with these weapons, you want these to do a ton of damage in the one direction you're firing. And so unlike the Minigun, which only shoots in front, this one actually does a ton of damage. And it works really well with shock or plasma. This one's gonna go S tier, but I'm gonna put it at the bottom. This is gonna be, because again, this weapon, if you're picking it, if you do like a one weapon run, you're gonna just massacre everything in front of you. You're gonna be able to run through the whole map, killing everything in front of you, not even having to worry about bugs hitting you. It's really, really powerful. And then our last weapon, we have the Wave Cooker. Wave Cooker is, again, I think a super good weapon. It does fire damage, and it's one of those weapons where, again, the reason why these cold weapons suck, you can put a cold overclock on this weapon. So you can get this weapon to have a huge range too. So you can increase the width of this weapon, and you can increase the rotation speed of this weapon. So if you do that, you can freeze enemies incredibly well if you take the cold overclock with it. And on top of that, it does really good damage. It's a beam weapon, but it doesn't get extra beams. But with that, it can still shoot through walls. So if you're in the middle of mining, you know, say you're playing the salt pit map and you're in the middle of mining, this weapon can damage and freeze enemies on the other side of the walls. Like some of these other ones can't. The sludge pump can't. The flamethrower, where's the flamethrower? The flamethrower can't do that. It's gonna be blocked by the walls. This one's not blocked by the walls. This one's gonna go A tier, and I'll probably put this, I think we'll put it right here. That looks pretty good. It's not quite S tier, but I do think this weapon is insanely good and insanely powerful. It's a really, really good weapon, and I generally build it to do damage and freeze. I love the freezing capabilities of this weapon, and that's again why I would never pick these ones. These two weapons need substantial buffs because these two weapons are just better. They're better cold weapons than the actual cold weapons. All right, that's gonna be it. I'm tired of talking. This has been 45 minutes discussing weapons, but I hope you enjoyed this. So S tier, I'm just gonna go over the S tier and then you can just look at the rest of the list. We have the M1000, GOAT damage by far. Plasma carbine, definitely the most versatile weapon in the game. Really good damage, really good freezing. It's good early game, it's really good late game. Sludge pump, by far the best status effect weapon in the game if you're going to do acid or just straight up status effects with any other things, this is the #1 weapon to get. Thunderhead is probably the second best damage dealing weapon in the game. It can shred bosses. You do have to aim it, so that does make it a little bit hard, but it can shred bosses, it can shred mobs. It's really good, does really good damage. Coil gun, really good, probably the best mining weapon in the game, which is kind of why it definitely moves it up to S tier. If this didn't have mining, it probably wouldn't make S tier. It would probably be lower A, upper B, but because getting extra beams on this weapon is relatively easy and getting the destroy terrain, this makes it the best mining weapon on top of doing really good damage. And then the Warthog. The Warthog is our last S tier weapon. I love building this plasma. I love building this electric. It's really fun to just sort of charge into a boss, like with your shotgun, and then just hoping they don't jump into you and that you can kill them in time. But it's really fun. It's really powerful. So there we go. That is our tier list for Deep Rock Galactic Survivor weapons. I hope you enjoyed this. And if you do, drop a like, subscribe to the channel. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you have a great rest of your day.